Okay, good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be taking a look at adjectives and adverbs. So, the first thing to remember is adjectives and adverbs, as they say here, are words that describe. Whoops. Okay, let's try that again. Adjectives and adverbs are words that describe other parts of speech. That's pretty much the most important thing to remember. Describe. Okay? Now, what does that mean by describe? Well, it tells about them. So, for example, down here, adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. So, in other words, we have here, Pooch is funny. So there's the adjective funny, and it's talking about the word Pooch. By the way, you do know Pooch is a dog, right? So we could use any type of adjective as long as they describe a noun or a pronoun, like he is funny. See? There we go. He is funny. Just simple as that. He is funny. It could change to the pooch is a different color. For example, a pooch is brown. Anyways, these are all adjectives that describe things. And they describe only nouns or pronouns, like he or the pooch. If you remember your net pronouns, can you remember them? Let's see here. I'm going to write down pronouns. Ready? Okay, go for it. He. What's another one? Should be, I got she. What's another one? You. That's a classic. Do you have another one? How about they? And we're missing one more, I'm fairly certain. Well, actually, two more. We and I. Okay, so there's our pronouns. Now let's look back down here at our examples they're showing us. Clarissa's singing sounds bad. Now there's a point they're saying. It's not an adverb, it's a verb, it's an adjective, meaning it's describing the word singing. Singing right there is a noun idea. Okay, very important. Same thing here. Dad's cooking tastes awful. In other words, they're talking about the cooking. I'm going to erase a little bit so we have some space here to look at some things. What they're showing and trying to describe is up here. This part. They're saying adjectives follow being verbs. Okay? So like feel, taste, smell, sound, look, appear, and seem. They also follow the is, are, and words like that. Okay? The be verbs, they follow these ones. Feel, taste, smell, sound, look, appear, and seem. Hopefully, if you're listening to me, you're making notes in your paper or on your in a notebook about these ones being your being verbs. Okay? So let's go back down here. Clarissa's singing sounds bad. That's describing the word singing. In this sentence, Clarissa's singing is an idea. Same thing as Dad's cooking, the bakery, I, she. These are all basically ideas about nouns. And that's why it's like using adjectives. Dark is describing pictures. Up here, awful is describing the idea of Dad's cooking. All right. Pretty basic idea there. What gets it tricky for a lot of us is the idea of adverbs. So, adjectives, remember, describe nouns. Adjectives describe everything else. They describe or modify verbs, adjectives, and even adverbs themselves. So, adverbs use the word, you can think of adverbs as answering the questions when, why, where, how. They also point out to you that all of them end in ly. So, Jane jumps, and then they say happily. Very nice, isn't that one? So, there's the word. And what is it describing? Well, it's describing jump. Jane got really tired. Well, again, we go back to how tired is she? Well, she is really tired. Okay? This is the type of thing that helps us understand. Now we have Jane went to bed, and then we're saying unusually early. Now they tell us here early is an adverb. Remember it said ly. But then they have unusually, it describes that adverb. So in other words, they work to describe everything, like I said. And a lot of times what you're looking for, do you remember what we said? What are you looking for to find them? If you remember, we're looking for the ly. That'll help us find an adverb. Okay? All right. So let's look down here. Comparatives and superlatives. These are my favorites. Comparative, what do you think it means? Well, hopefully you're ahead of me in reading. Compares two things. That's the biggie. Only two. That's it. No more, no less. And as they said, most adjectives with one syllable use er. So in other words, like here's big. Big is one syllable. Big, big. And see how it sounds? One syllable. Those three letters only make one group of sound. Okay? And there it is, big-er. Now if you notice, they double that final consonant. They take bigger, and they take big and double the G's to become GG right there. Very important idea there. Okay, let's look at the next page. We're going to continue looking at superlatives and comparatives. Now here we have most adjectives with two or more syllables use the adverb more. Oh, there's that word adverb. In other words, adverbs are again showing the modification of an adjective, meaning delicious is the adjective, more is saying we're talking about more. We're talking about comparing now. So ice cream is more delicious than fruit salad. Again, how many things are we comparing? Hopefully you said only two. And so remember, with the word with comparing and a larger, longer adjective, we're going to be using the word more. Okay? That's a pretty basic idea. So in other words, if I was talking about, well, let's go with the wonderful word intelligent. Now, am I going to say with intelligent, do you think you're going to hear me say intelligent-er or more intelligent? Probably. You should be hearing me say more intelligent. So for example, I could say third graders seem, okay, there's that word, that being word, seem more intelligent okay, more intelligent than, oh, let's say fourth grade. Now what I'm doing is you might be like, well, wait a moment, Mr. Johnston. Graders, that means more kids, but I'm looking at group, one whole group. Third graders is one whole group, okay? And fourth graders is the second group. That's why it's still two things. All right, so there's my example. Third graders seem more intelligent than fourth graders. Excuse me, again, as always, I'm sorry about the bad handwriting. Hopefully it'll get better soon. I got a tool coming in. All right, let's take a look at the next part about about comparatives. My fault. So still talking about comparing, all right, because that's why it's called comparative. Now we're looking at another one. Still talking about two syllables, but look at that. It's ending with a what letter? Y. And so we drop it, that means get rid of it, and add I-E-R. So in other words here, messy. Messy becomes, what does it become, everybody? Messier. All right, good. Now we have again a comparison. My room is messier than my brother's. How many are we talking about? Only two. So comparatives. Okay, now, hopefully you got a good idea of that one. Maybe make some notes on your paper. It's always a good idea. Because now we're going to jump into superlatives. All right. Superlatives, on the other hand, are a little bit different. Superlative form compares three or more things. I like thinking this one is talking about the best. Okay? Now, there's going to be some differences. The best. In fact, look at that right there. It says it. What sound are we using? Est. So in other words, adjectives with one syllable use est endings to form the superlative. Double the final consonant if it follows vowel. So remember big? And we double the G, so we get biggest. So they're showing us cold becomes coldest. February was the coldest month last year. February out of how many months? Well, 12 months. That's why we're talking superlative, not comparing. We're talking about many group, one out of many. Okay, so remember, superlative, one of many. That's the very important thing. Now, adjectives with two or more syllables use the adverb most. Here's an easy way to remember it. Remember I said best, and that has an EST on the end of it. Well, most also uses ST. That's why we're still using most. All right, pretty basic. Comfortably becomes most comfortable. Shadow thinks that her bed is the most comfortable place in the house. Going back to our example, we do use the word intelligent. Now, again, I could say third graders are the most intelligent in the school. Now, I'm using most because we're talking about the whole group, all of the children in the school, all of the different grades. Now, remember it, that means there's about 9 grades. Out of all the 9 grades, kindergarten through 8th grade, third graders are the most intelligent. That's why I'm using most. Let's take a quick look at the idea of the Y again. There it is. Y is, again, being dropped and changing it into an I with an EST ending. Give me a second to clean up a little bit here. Don't underline that part. So, there it is, IEST. Scary becomes scariest. Arnold is the scariest monster in my closet. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a moment to just preview something here. Alright, so here's what we're going to do next, but let's leave that alone for a moment. Let's pull up my little drawing pad and we'll go into some work right now, okay? Alright, so let's take a look at some practice. Let's think of some adjectives. We'll think of a couple of easy ones. Well, I'm thinking of hot. I'm thinking of my son's favorite word, awful. He likes using awful a lot. It's fun for him. And how about one that has a Y ending? Silly. Okay. Now they're all adjectives. That means I'm using them to describe what? Do you remember? Hopefully you're thinking noun. Alright, so if I say the coffee is hot, ta-da, is. Now I could turn this into a superlative. What would I write it as? Remember? Hopefully you're thinking Hotter, hotter. My coffee is hot. Hotter. Now, when I say my coffee is hotter, we're going to be talking about comparing it to something else. Well, maybe then my son. Then he doesn't drink coffee, shot coffee. My son doesn't drink that one. Then tea. A little silly, but what the heck? It works. Now, pretty easy. Now, if I want to change it again, is in the house, my wife is drinking coffee, I am drinking coffee, my son has hot chocolate, but mine is the most. So I change it to, what's the superlative? Hot. Est. See it? So I'd say, my coffee is the hot est. I might even make a group. Oof, bad handwriting. Is the hottest. In the house. Okay, pretty basic. Alright, now we'll go with, so we have my coffee is the hottest in the house. Now we can also talk about, we've talked about awful. Can I say more, can I say awfuler? No, I have to say more awful. So I'm going to drop this one. I'm going to just keep the idea of coffee. And I'm going to change the verb a little bit to make it more interesting. How about I go with smells? So we say, the coffee smells awful. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our superlative. And we have more awful. I'm going to erase this here. I'm just going to say, my coffee smells more awful. Wow, that is amazing with that handwriting, Mr. Johnston. Anyways, I hope you and your parents understand that my handwriting isn't always this bad. It's just on a tablet with this cheap stylus I'm using. That's my excuse. Okay. Anyway, so my coffee smells more awful. It could be complaining, it can be comparing to maybe, I don't know, maybe my son's hot chocolate, or just my coffee smells more awful than somebody else's coffee. And now we're going to go to the next one. We're going to be looking at superlative of awful again. So we had more awful. What's the superlative? Do I say awfulest? No. If you remember right, again, we're going to change it to most awful. What do you think? Could you write a sentence about my coffee? Well, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to get rid of all this part here. I'm probably going to erase a lot of it here so I have more space. While I'm doing this one, I hope you guys are thinking of something to make. Maybe something like Mr. Johnson's coffee smells or looks the most awful of any drink. That could work. Now, something to mention is I put the word the because it's special. We're saying that it's, when we say something is most, we're definitely making it above everything else. So we use an article, the. Of all drinks. Okay. Pretty basic. Now, one more to look at. Silly. Now, I'm not going to go talk about silly with coffee. But if I have silly, it's an adjective, so I say my cat, remember my cat, looks silly. There we go. Describing my cat. I'm using this word looks. It's not really an action in that one because my cat is not looking at something. It's simply just using the word looks to describe how the cat is. Now, how do I make it into a comparative? Well, I keep silly, but I drop it to I and then put er, sillier. My cat is sillier than your cat. And I could also go with my cat. Let's go back to looks. My cat looks the silliest of all the pets. See? Poor Albie. I'm sort of insulting the poor guy. He is a little silly though, but he's a good cat. Okay, now I'm going to go back to our work we were doing over here, and here we are. So they showed us, before we jump into some of the questions here, they showed us how they need to change some things here. They're showing about fun, yellow, quiet. And what they're trying to say is you can't compare them the same way. Look, fun is more fun, not funner. Yellow becomes yellower, not more yellow. Quiet becomes quieter. So as you're doing the work, keep an eye out for these words. Okay, keep an eye out for all of these type of words, like down here and up here. This makes a big difference for you. Now here we have negatives. They use the word less. Okay, very important. Now the first part should be sort of easy. All they're asking you to do here is simply find the adjective. Here's a sentence. I heard a loud crash in the hall. Remember, something is being described. When we're talking about adjective, describing a noun. Okay? Look at which one of these is not a noun or a verb. That's how you find it. And which one can actually describe something. Question 2 talks about the idea of this one here. Let's take a look at this. Samaya practiced her violin every day. She had a performance coming up, and she wanted to play well. Her friends Veronica and Lisa only practiced once a week. Okay. Now, we have the sentence. One of the sentences below can be added. So you have to figure out which sentence is best to fit in there. To the paragraph above. Which sentence is written correctly? I'm going to point out something. I'm reading, I just scanned this very fast. That's my style. I scan. And it says, practiced harder, practiced more harder, practiced most hard, and practiced hardest. These are all, we're talking about we need to look at either comparative for these or superlative. Well, here's the clue. How many people is Samaya comparing herself to? You see 2 people or 3? Because, remember, comparative is for 2, superlative is for more than 2, like 3 or more. So that should tell you something, which one it should be. I'm going to leave it alone. I want you to try and do that one. Let's turn to the next page. First question says, which sentence has an adjective? Okay, so we have to find the adjective. Remember, describes noun. So it has to be a describing word and should describe a noun. Randy went to see his brother play baseball. Noun, noun, noun. Anything describing there? Don't know. B. The players were sweating under the hot sun. What do you think are the nouns? Well, players is one. Sun is the other. Is there anything describing players? Is there anything describing sun? Let's go to the next one. Theodore helped his team win the game. What are the nouns in this one? Well, there's Theodore, team, game. Anything describe a noun in that one? Okay. And last one. His brother Theodore was the pitcher. Well, well, here's our nouns again. Brother, Theodore. We saw those up there. And the last one is pitcher. Okay. Again, any of them have a noun? Any of them have an adjective? Anything that describes those nouns underlined. All right. So here's our only choices then. There's only one sentence of those 4 choices that is correct. Okay? So figure out which one's correct, and that's your answer. Number 4. Veronica ran than anyone else in her class. There's my clue. Class is a group. One person in the class. We're comparing But we're comparing from this to Veronica to a group, to others. Really, it looks like it's talking about 1 and 2. We're having then. No the. There's no the right there. So nothing, no the means, in other words, we're not doing a superlative. Yeah, well, let's see that. Whoops. No superlative because we're not talking about a whole group. No the. That's a clue. And so we can say right now, since we look at our choice, we have more farthest, far, most far, farther. As I said, no superlative. So we cross out most far. We know that one's wrong. Whoops. Then there's farthest. Well, that's just confusing. More and farthest together? No, that's wrong. So there's only 2 choices left. Think about which one it could be. I'm not going to tell you any more than I did. Okay. Question 5. The child moved away from the spill on the floor. Which word in the sentence is an adverb? Okay, remember, adverbs. I'm not going to help you here. I'll then just remind you. Adverbs describe. Of course, they describe. Verbs, adjectives, and do you remember the other one? Adverbs. What do they not describe? Never describe adjectives. Okay, whoopsie, I just wrote adjectives. Never describe, sorry guys, never describe nouns. That's what I should have said. Glad I caught myself. I'm going to fix some handwriting here. I got distracted by how bad my handwriting is. See? Good handwriting is important. Never describe nouns. Very, very, very important. Okay, that's all I think you need to know for all about adjectives and adverbs. I think you'll do fine, guys.